Well guys, I know it's been about a week now since I posted a video, but I have been busy. If you guys didn't know, I actually do have businesses that I go run, the education stuff, and then my own e-commerce businesses. So I've been busy doing that, refining a lot of things and just testing out a whole bunch of stuff, and yeah, just busy running them. I've tried to sort of get to YouTube, but I also wanted to, I would much rather have a video that's going to be valuable to you guys than just post some random crap, basically. So I like having at least a little bit of planned out content, around Amazon FBA and Shopify and just e-commerce in general, so I can help you guys out. You can probably see by the title of this video, there's a question that I get a lot, and it's usually from people who've just found my channel or who have just gotten into learning about e-commerce, and they usually see the two main ones being Amazon FBA and Shopify. And the main question that I usually get in my DMs and my comments and whatnot is, look Jack, I've seen both of these, Amazon FBA and Shopify, and I don't know which one to do. It's usually, the answer that I usually give them is, it really depends on what your goals are. And if you were someone like me, I wanted to try both out. And I started on one, I just picked one, started on one. Well, I actually learned about Amazon before dropshipping on Shopify. So if I was to look at both, I would have just picked one and then seen how I've gone with that, and then just gone, tried the other as well, because I'm someone who likes to try different things out. That's usually the piece of advice that I give them. But for the purpose of this video, I'm actually going to talk about some in-depth differences between them, because I have been doing them myself. Been selling on Amazon for about 3 years now myself. Don't do it as much these days. I still have products up there to keep up to date with what's going on. I'm also teach it now, but I am getting deeper into Shopify with my own store, and I have other videos on that and what I've done so far with Shopify Dropshipping on my channel. You can go and check out those videos if you like. But this video here is going to be about the main differences, and I'm going to go quite in depth on from what I've learned on the main differences of FBA and dropshipping, and hopefully by the end of it, you get a better idea of what they're both about, and hopefully you can decide which one you want to go for. But one of the main questions I get is, how much is it going to cost to start? And when it comes to Amazon, on the very, very lower side, because what you need to do with Amazon is buy your stock first and get it sent to the warehouse. For Amazon, you're looking at the low side, I'd say probably around $400 to $500 to get a small amount of units in. That will include stuff like shipping, any subscriptions you need, like a seller account and whatnot. So you're probably looking at about $400 to $500 for the low side. Generally, if I was starting, I'd probably put maybe like $1,000 to maybe $1,500 aside to get a good amount of units in, to get a nice quality product, and then everything else, on the side. And that's including stuff for like advertising on the Amazon platform. For dropshipping, you're only looking at about what you're going to need to run the ads, because the only other stuff you really pay for is your Shopify account, which is like a monthly subscription, and then from there, any apps that you have on your site. The majority of it is going to be from advertising, and usually you have like a 2 to 3 day period at the start of running your ads, and I would probably put aside probably about $200 to $300 for that, just so you can start testing out ads and start seeing what's working. Another big question that I get is, how long is it going to take until I start seeing progress? Now, this is almost like asking how long is a piece of string, if you've ever heard that saying. If you're an Aussie, then you probably would have heard it. But if you're not an Aussie, that's just basically what I'm trying to say with that is, it really depends on how much work you put into it. So really, let's just say you gave two people the same amount of time frame to try and get their Amazon FBA business up and running. Let's just say you gave them both 6 months. Now, the person who is going to spend 3 to 5 hours a day on their Amazon business, getting it up and running in those first 6 months, compared to someone who does 20 minutes, every 2 days or whatnot, kind of see where I'm going with this. The person that spends 3 to 5 hours a day, they might make more mistakes along the way, but they're going to be learning more, they're going to be making a lot more progress. So it depends on how much effort you put into this kind of thing. So I guess to give you a roundabout number for Amazon FBA, I have seen people basically get their product, do their product research, get their product up and running and start making sales within like a month or 2 months. I have had students who have taken 6 months. I personally, when I first started selling back in 2017, I took a little bit over 6 months. It was probably 6 to 8 months, before I started seeing actual decent sales. And then I've had students of mine who have launched in Amazon Australia. They took probably a couple of weeks, a few weeks to find their product, and then once they launched it, they got results of sales within 4 hours of launching their product. they ended up selling, something, I think it was like just over $3,000 in revenue for the week. So, and that was here in Australia as well, not in the US market. So they did their product research well. They made sure that they had a product that was in demand. They made sure that they had everything set up properly, but all in all, that process for them probably took about a month or two. And some people take longer. It really depends, how long is a piece of string. It depends on how much effort you put into it. Now with Shopify, you can actually get up and running a lot faster. You can basically, once you know what you're doing, let's just say if we use my level of competency, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert in anything, but let's just say if you've got the amount of knowledge that I do, I've been doing Shopify for, I guess, about a year and a half now. About a year and a half now. And let's just say if I was to launch a store, get a product, launch a store, start launching ads. You can do that and launch your ads all in a day. And you can basically start making sales within 24 to 48 hours. Now, I'm not saying that you will start making sales, but it is possible, because with Amazon, you need to buy your stock up front. When it comes to Shopify, you don't have to do that. Shopify, if you don't know what dropshipping is, basic terms is that someone buys your product. You don't buy the product until someone buys it off you. They give you the money. They buy it off you, and then you buy it at a cheaper price and get your supplier to send it over to them. And with Amazon FBA, you are basically buying stock beforehand, sending it to the Amazon warehouse. Once you sell your product, Amazon packs it and ships it for you. So that's the difference between the two business models. But just because Shopify doesn't take as long, it doesn't cost as much to start up, doesn't always mean that it's the better option to go for. Another question I get is, how hard is it to learn, because they want to decide which one they can go for, because usually, and it does make sense, I can see why people want to go for the one that's, I guess, easier to start up, but they both have their challenges. With Amazon FBA, it's harder to test products out. It's harder to basically, get a product in, start testing it, and you got to talk to suppliers, and you have to negotiate with them, and it's going to cost a little bit more. Now with dropshipping, the harder side of that is you need to learn Facebook ads. You need to drive traffic to your own store. It's like double-edged swords for both. One thing that might be easy on one side, it's going to be harder for the other side, and then vice versa. So really, when you're asking how hard is it, and some people might find things harder than others. Some people might find building a website really easy. Other people might find building a website harder. But that person might find it easier to run Facebook ads, where the other person might find it harder to run Facebook ads. So it really depends. It's hard to answer that one, until you actually, you won't be able to know until you actually go out there and try it yourself. I guess if you were to set it to a time frame, it probably took me around the same time to start getting, over that learning curve for both of them. But it's just with anything. The more time I spent on Amazon, the better I learned it. The more time I spent doing Facebook ads, building websites for my Shopify store, the better I got at it. So it's basically much of a muchness for that. Okay, now I'm going to go over some pros and cons that I personally think will play into which one you want to go for. First one being is brand building. So branding versus no branding. When it comes to Amazon, and this comes for e-commerce as a whole, branding is going to be such a big thing, especially in Australia. It is now becoming a big thing. If you can see now, it's you can't really do this thing, with e-commerce that you used to be able to years ago, where you could just go up and put no brand products up, and they'll just start selling out really quickly. Maybe for some products you can, but in the long term, it's going to be very hard to do that. You're going to start. Amazon has really been playing into this branding stuff, because they've actually made it a lot easier for people to brand their stuff. But it's actually almost gotten to the point where you kind of need, to build your brand on Amazon to actually, become successful, because they are more so pushing brands. If you see on Amazon now, in the US, UK, in Australia, they're pushing brands, they're pushing the brand names. So it really does pay in the long term to build a brand on Amazon. Now, in saying that, it is easier, in my opinion, to get started trying to build a brand on Amazon, because you are starting from the manufacturer. You are starting with your logo, you are starting with your brand name. Everything is basically, getting ready to not only launch your product, but launch your brand name as well. When it comes to dropshipping, especially for beginners, it is a little bit harder to get out there and find a supplier that will dropship an item, but also have it branded. That's why the plus side to spending more is that the supplier will say, okay, you're buying this amount of units with us, you're going to have it shipped to Amazon, so you can pay us to put your logo on there as well. And that's basically the whole deal with those suppliers on Alibaba. With AliExpress and then with other dropshipping manufacturers or dropshipping suppliers, it's very hard to get a supplier, at least for a beginner anyway. Hard to find suppliers that will say, okay, we'll put your logo on every single unit that gets sold after it gets sold. It's basically like, okay, we have this white labeled, which is like a no brand product. It's easier to do that and start selling that, but it is harder to build a brand. On that, unless you start getting into the whole warehousing thing and buying stock beforehand, it's going to be a little bit harder to start branding yourself unless you start branding around social media, unless you start branding around in other ways. But eventually, if you're getting to the point where you're going to make it a long-term business, you'll have to get to the point where you are either using warehousing or like a warehousing system in the countries that you're selling in, or have a supplier that you're buying in bulk from beforehand. Let's just say you're selling 100 units a week of that particular product. You can buy 100 in advance, so at least you're safe for that week. And you can have them get the product ready with your brand name and whatnot, and it'll just be a lot stronger in the long term. But that's the ups and downs of having it a little bit harder. Even though it's less to start up with Shopify, it's going to be harder to brand, where with Amazon it is a little bit easier to do so. And here's a big one, and that is organic traffic versus paid traffic. And with Amazon, you not only have the ability to have paid traffic on there if you want to. You can launch your products with having paid traffic, and you just advertise through the Amazon platform, but you already have organic traffic. If you're selling in the US, you got millions and millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of people already on Amazon, and you've got millions here in Australia as well who are already searching through Amazon. And the higher your product gets ranked, the more places your product will be seen, and that is all organic. And then you can choose to do paid traffic, which will push your product even more for certain keywords. Now with Shopify, you need to do paid traffic from the start, unless you are selling. I've seen people sell, on Facebook groups, Facebook pages and whatnot, which is more so just free organic traffic. But if you really want to scale, you need to be doing things like either Facebook ads or Google ads, Instagram influencer ads, something that you're able to track, the figures for and be able to scale. And that's where the learning curve for me came from. It wasn't really much, there was a bit of a learning curve for me in building the website, learning how to make it convert better, learning how to do the product page a lot better. But for me, the biggest learning curve has been Facebook ads, learning my way around it, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. And it's still a learning process, I just try different things all the time. And then once I find something that works, I double down on it, I stick with it. But paid traffic, for me, especially with Facebook ads, has been the biggest learning curve for me, because if you guys didn't know, Shopify isn't like Amazon where you buy products from. Shopify is just a website builder. You build a website through Shopify. It allows payments on your website. It allows third-party, applications and whatnot on your website. But you don't basically put your product up there like Amazon and other people can come and buy. It's basically you have a website that you need to build on Shopify, but you need to run external traffic, to your website in order for people to buy. The last one, and probably the most important one that a lot of people don't really talk about, and something that is very, very huge part, and I know this from working in retail myself, is customer service. And I think for Amazon, from what I've experienced from Amazon, it's a lot easier to deal with customer service on Amazon than what it is through Shopify. So I'll put it into this, just for this instance, when it comes to customer service. So let's just say someone's bought your product, they don't like it. Okay, they can return it. Obviously, it has to be in good condition and whatnot, but let's just say they're within their 30 days or whatever the term is and they want to return it. What happens? They get in contact with Amazon, or they can get in contact with you, who is the seller. Now, either way, either Amazon's going to answer them or you'll have to answer them, but that's not the hard part. It's like, okay, you answer them, and then what are they going to do with the product? It's like, okay, they can package it up, send it back to Amazon. Usually Amazon will give them an address to send it to, they'll give them details on where to send it to, or you can even sort them out for a replacement, if they just want a replacement if it didn't work or whatnot. But they have somewhere to send it back to. Now with dropshipping, let's just say you have an angry customer, or you have someone that's unhappy, they want to return it. Now, it's fine to refund them. It's fine to refund them. Same with Amazon, it's fine to refund them. But okay, let's just say you're dropshipping from China. Where are they going to send the product? Unless you've got warehousing. People don't talk about this kind of thing where it's like, if you don't have your own, your own supplier that's in that country, if you're shipping from someone else overseas, they can't necessarily ship it back to that supplier because that's really not how those suppliers really work, at least from what I've seen anyway. So really what you're going to have to do is just wear the cost of the refund unless you have an alternate method. So that's what I found with customer service as well. On that note, let's just say you have a lot of customers asking you questions and whatnot. You might have questions that you need to answer, but a lot of the time Amazon will take the fallback for customer service for you and answer a lot of questions, basically, you know, either about products or just customer service in general. They are really good at handling customer service. Now, when it comes to Shopify, that's all on you. It's your store. You will have a store email. You'll have a contact, or most of the time you should have a contact where when they email you, it's going to come directly to your email. So who's it going to fall back on? If you don't have someone to handle customer service for you, you're going to have to do it. So I've only just been, and I'm lucky enough now that I'm getting to the point where I can hire a virtual assistant, basically a VA, to handle my email customer service and to handle my Facebook pages, like any messages that I get through Facebook pages as well, because you have to have a Facebook page to run Facebook ads. But now that's just something that's off my table. I'm happy to cut out a little bit of the profit to put it towards paying them, just so they can deal with it. And it's not only just to free up my time, but majority of the time it's people chasing up orders, and I don't want to be put in a negative mental state as well. I would much rather just hands off, someone else can deal with that, I'll pay them for that, and then I would just handle the rest of the business. I can just do Facebook ads and do the orders. Eventually I'll get someone to help me with the orders as well, but customer service was a big one for me, so that's something that you need to know as well. And what a lot of people don't talk about either is that customer service is such a huge part of any business that you do. Not a lot of people talk about customer service. They talk about selling, they talk about how to scale, which is fine. Obviously you need to do that, otherwise your business won't be able to live. But your business also won't be able to live if you're constantly getting negative feedback, you're constantly getting people complain about orders, about the way service is done. Eventually it's going to fall back on you and you could lose a business. If, you know, even if it gets to the point where you're doing 6 figures a month, you know, in your Shopify business or in your Amazon business, if you're not on top of your customer service, then that can be the downfall of you. You can get to the point where people will just not promote your products, or you'll have such bad reviews that no one will, it'll get to the point where people slowly start not buying from you, and it could be the downfall of you as well in your business. So that's something I really need to note, and something that I like talking about as well, because I've been in the customer service business myself, you know, working in retail. I've been, you know, up face to face with businesses. If you work retail or in that kind of business line, you know, doing that kind of job, you'll know what I mean. That's pretty much all I had to end up on that one. I've tried to make this as in-depth as I could for the differences, and hopefully that'll give you a better understanding of the both. But I guess my final verdict is, I'm just going to say what I say to everyone else when they ask me this. It really depends on what your goals are. Brand building, maybe look more so towards Amazon FBA. If you're okay with not brand building at the start, brand building it a bit later, maybe go the Shopify route. Now, something really quickly that's actually just popped in my head that no one talks about as well, you can actually combine the two. You can combine Amazon and Shopify, and one of my students, one of my older students, Albas, he's done that with his products. He's selling really well in the AU market, but he has both an Amazon store and then he's got a Shopify store which has his products on it. He runs traffic to his Amazon store as well. He's got different channels as well, working out really well for him. So you can combine both. I wouldn't do both at once, but like I was saying, just choose one. If you like the look of one over the other, choose that, try it out, give it a good try. Don't just, you know, try launch one product. If it doesn't work out, oh, you know, it doesn't work, it's just a scam, blah, blah, blah. Give it a good try and make sure that you put your all into it, make sure you put effort into it, you learn all about it, learn from your mistakes, and then, you know, if you just don't like that business model, try the other, or if you like that one, even try and integrate the other later on, but stick with one and then grow that, and then you can start looking at other options. Don't put too much on your plate, because you know, you want to be someone that masters one thing rather than someone that's really sort of dabbling in both. So just keep that in mind. But hope this video helped you guys. I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions about this stuff, just comment down below. Hope you guys are staying safe and are well. I'll see you guys very, very soon.